Alright, so this is going to be my review of Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Search Part 1. Now, first things first, you're probably wondering, well, why didn't I do a review on The Promise? All three parts of that. I'll give you the abridged version of that. I thought it was okay. No, really, I just thought it was because I found a lot of problems with it, despite being an Avatar fan that I am, I still had a lot of problems with it. There were some good points, but I just walked away going, that was okay. And also, I do have spoilers for Avatar: The Search Part 1, and boy, they are big spoilers. So, I beseech you, if you have not, read Avatar: The Search Part 1, or you don't want to get spoiled in general, please, I can't stress this enough, because something big happens in here that I don't really want to spoil to anyone. And please, if you've... also, another thing, because this is kind of a big thing. The other thing is, if you do know the spoiler that I'm talking about, or, please don't spoil anything in the comments below for the other people who don't want to get spoiled either. So, I'm going to wait a few seconds for everyone to back out for those who don't want to get spoiled. Alright, so I'm guessing you've either read The Search, or at this point you just don't care what the big spoiler is. But let's get on to the review. Now, the review pretty much, well, excuse me, the story of Avatar: The Search Part 1 in general, the main general basis is that Zuko wants to find his mother, and that's the whole point of this, and he's getting help from Azula, as well as Aang, Sokka, and Katara. And this delves into what happened to Zuko's mother, as well as pretty much what her life was before she was married. Well, when she was married to Ozai, and who she was with before. This pretty much starts off with, we see Ursa, Zuko's mother, in her younger years, with a man she loves called Ikumi. Now, I think that's his name. Yeah, Ikumi was an actor who proposed to Ursa, and then when she, runs to tell her family, yeah, we're getting married and all that, then that's when Fire Lord Azulon and Ozai, who's still Prince, are at her house, and yeah, they pretty much tell him, yeah, we know your Avatar Roku's descendants. We know your Avatar Roku's descendants. And Azulon pulls a very Nazi-esque thing. He believes that if he can, get Ursa, and Ozai together, the Fire Sages have told him he can create a superior a superior bloodline of firebenders through mixing the Fire Lord and Avatar's bloodline together. It's very, a very Nazi-esque thing to do when you think about it. But anyway, we pretty much find out that later on Ikumi tries to rescue Ursa, but she begs him not to. She pretty much begs Ozai not to kill him, and he leaves the village that he was on and comes across this giant wolf spirit that it plays a bigger part in the story. Later on, Zuko has decided after, a Earth Kingdom summit that he wants to, put his family back together, and he believes, being kind to his sister will help. So he goes to see his sister, who's in a mental institution, and she is mentally gone. She's scary. In fact, she pretty much, Ty Lee and Suki are there guarding Zuko, and she looks at Ty Lee and is like, what made you no longer afraid of me? And when Zuko and Azula are done talking, Ty Lee says, I never stopped being afraid of Azula. But yeah, we pretty much follow on that, Azula, he allows Azula and Ozai to have a conversation, and through that, he allows Zuko to, Zuko allows Azula to come back to the Fire Palace. He still locks up Ozai, but he thinks he can, save his sister. And that's when Azula attempts to break out, and Azula pretty much goes to this, she breaks out of Zuko's care, finds a secret room in the Fire Nation Temple, and shows Zuko all of these letters that Ursa sent to her family and her former lover that were never sent to her. they were never sent to her. And there's one message left that Azula says, this will give me absolute power and right to the throne, and Zuko can never be in power again. And we're wondering what this message is, through this entire story. First part is like, what is this message? Because even Ozai in a flashback found out about this message, and I'll get onto it in a bit because that's the huge spoiler of what's in that message. So Zuko decides, Azula pretty much makes a deal. It's like, I'll let you look at this letter and help you find, help you find Mom, but you have to promise me, you have to let me off the chains. And for extra purposes, she travels on Appa along with Aang, Katara, and Sokka. And I'm going to bring up one thing I'm not liking. I'm not too crazy about what they're doing with Sokka in the Avatar comics. The one thing I've noticed throughout, and he does have his points here and there, but the problem I'm having is that he's too jokey. He is way too jokey for his own good. Granted, that's in Sokka's character, but we've seen him grown up. He can be the goofball kind of character, but still be like almost the big leader of the group at a lot of times. He's the idea guy. In the comics, it just feels like he's the comic relief 24/7. And there's only one little character moment that he has with Zuko later on, and the rest of this in part 1 is just a lot of jokes and him being stupid. And that's a big problem because I really like Sokka's character development. It just feels like it's back to season 1. But yeah, in all honesty, further on down the road, while they're headed out to this village where they believe Ursa was last seen, Azula attempts to break out again, and then she reveals that, Azula, let me talk about Azula's mental state right now. She is completely convinced that Ursa is secretly out to destroy her. She is completely convinced that her mother is, the whole reason why she wanted to go help Zuko find her mother is because she believes that Ursa has manipulated everyone around her and every person in her life and even her own mind into killing her. And she believes that, oh, you were afraid of me the moment I came out of the womb, and that's pretty much she wants to find Ursa and assassinate her. And that's interesting, but then that kind of leaves you open. It's like, is she really crazy? Because there are points in this comic where I'm like, is she really crazy, or is she onto something? Is Ursa become something else? Later on through the book, the gang comes across a giant wolf spirit, and this thing pretty much takes on and nearly kills Aang in a fight. They also toss not in here. She's mentioned in the part 1. I don't know if she's going to be in part 2 or 3, but so far in part 1 of the search, she's not in here. She's still training the Metal Bending Academy. But we find out that this wolf spirit has some kind of ties, like I said earlier, to Ursa's former lover. And, that happens, they fight him. And also there's this hilarious, because there's a scene, it's not really hilarious, but what they do, how they do it kind of reminds me of a scene from The Simpsons, where the wolf spirit throws up all these bees, these moth wasps that they call them. And all I could think was from The Simpsons, that scene where Homer's yelling at Mr. Burns like, "Oh, you gonna sick the dogs on me, or sick the bees on me, or sick the dogs on me that have bees in their mouths, so when they bark they shoot bees at you." That's what I was thinking when I was looking at that panel. But yeah, there is a really good character moment between when Zuko and Sokka are talking about their sisters, and Zuko goes to put a blanket over Azula while she's asleep and, tripping out. That's when he sees the little letter in her bootleg. He pulls it out, and he reads this message, and also, once again, if you don't want to get spoiled, leave right now. Leave. Go. Alright. Here, if you're still here, here's the big shocker. In this message, it says that Zuko may not be the legitimate child of Fire Lord Ozai. He may instead be the son of not Ozai, but of Ursa's former lover. In that message, it says, yeah, our son Zuko looks exactly like you. And at that moment, I went, what? What? at that, I don't know how to look at that. I don't know how to respond to that. Really, I don't, because it kind of throws in the face of all continuity now, doesn't it? Now, this would mean that technically Zuko doesn't have any right to the throne if that's true, because if he's not really Ozai's son, and we don't know yet if that letter's really true or not, that maybe Zuko really is Ozai's son, or maybe he's not. We don't know. But like I said, it throws in the face of all continuity. But if it is, then Zuko does not have any claim to the throne. However, Azula does have claim to the throne because she is full Ozai's real son. I mean, this would also mean that Zuko and Azula are half-siblings. So, I don't know what to think of that. This really, threw me off, and I am interested to see part 2. But like I said, at that moment, so I was like, when I say what, I was like out of anger and out of confusion. So I don't know how they're going to explain that, and also explain Ursa's lover's wolf. You know, that giant wolf thing. I'm pretty sure they are. But right now, it just kind of happened. It's one of those kind of things. So, yeah. But all in all, what did I think of the search? Well, I like what they're doing with Azula. That she is mentally just gone. She is flipping out constantly. And that bombshell was a twist, but I don't know what they're going to do with that without making that look stupid. So, and also, I'm still not too hot on the whole sweetie thing between Aang and Katara. I mean, yeah, I'm glad they're together in the comics, but of course, yeah, they're obviously together. But that whole sweetie thing they say back and forth is just dumb, in my opinion. So, in all, I just thought this was an okay one. The ending, that ending makes you want to read part 2 and just see what they're gonna do and how they're gonna explain that. But in all intents and purposes, yeah, this has just been another okay one, like The Promise. And yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with it. I'm interested, and I want to read part 2 when it comes out, when it does. But until then, yeah, this is just an okay one. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say for this one. And you guys tell me what do you guys think of this, of part 1, if you've read it, or yeah. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'm out.